Thank you so much for joining in. It is Wednesday, 29th of July. The time it is 12:43 in the evening over here in Tijuana, Mexico. Now, I stopped doing interviews about the child trafficking, the child abuse from the most important parts, that is from Mexico, that is where it all initiates, Central America, South America, and of course, the market, it is the United States of America. Absolutely, we understand that. But I stopped doing interviews, and this is the number one reason why I stopped doing interviews regarding this topic. When you are talking about the so delicate and sensitive topic about child trafficking, and we have been reporting on this for God knows how many years, and everybody knows our reputation on reporting on this. This started getting exacerbated when the migrant caravans started arriving to the north borders with Mexico and the United States back in 2017 when we started reporting on it. And now it is like a competition. Now, again, it is a trending topic. This child trafficking, this guy in Los Angeles right now, it's a trending topic. Now it is a topic for social media. Now it's a topic for people to have clicks, likes. Now it is a topic for people to talk about it, to get talking points. And I got exhausted. I really got exhausted because when you're reporting from Mexico all the way to Central America and South America, like we have been reporting, and my colleague Ben Berquam and some other colleagues that I have in the United States, counted with my hand. And when you're reporting from Mexico, your life is in danger. It's not easy to be talking about these things openly and going back to your home. It's not easy because you have the cartel, you have the organized crime, you have these progressive mercenary liberals that they bring their money and they corruptibly involve the organized crime and the cartel. You have these corrupt NGOs. So you're going against a lot of situations that you're not in favor of. When you're in the United States, you're fully protected. In comparison to Mexico, you don't even compare that. But the thing about it is that it became a trending topic, and it's not a topic about solutions. It became a topic about competition. It is not who got the information first and who is blasting it more on this social media, who gets more clicks and likes. You got to stop with this. These are children. This is why I stopped doing interviews about this topic. When they bring their emails to me and they send multiple messages about, Oscar, would you like to talk about this recent situation? What is the point? What is the goal for you? What are you going to do with the information? How are you going to help? And it is again a talking point. And now it is trending again. The missing children. And it is okay. More voices, the better. You echo the information. You blast the information more on social media and all this kind of stuff. And then you have these so-called experts going on these X spaces and talking about it in an X space. And now doing an X space is become an expert. You got to be kidding me. I'm being honest. You have to be kidding me with this. These are children. And you cannot have these kind of reliable information to become reliable when it is such a sensitive topic. We have walked more than 12 caravans on the side of the border for many years. And we have seen the atrocities and the abuse to children. Walked the Darien Gap 4 times. Documented all the borders with Mexico and the United States. And we're not competing with nobody. I'm not competing with nobody. I want this problem to be fixed. Since the Trump administration came into office, I have to say it. There's one good thing and one bad thing about reporting and about talking about this topic. Bad thing first. The bad thing first, it is that nobody's arrested. I don't want the guy that had a child that it was delivered to him to be arrested only. That is not enough for me. We have said it for so many years. These NGOs need to be audited. And these progressive mercenary liberals, that they were receiving federal grants from the United States of America for their NGOs, these so-called lawyers, that they were making fake matrimonies and fake families, they need to be arrested. Accountability, it is the number one to fix the problem. Nobody has been arrested, and it is a thing that it really gets me upset at this moment. It gets me pissed off. Let me just say it like it is. Why? Because there's no arrest fully and investigations fully to these NGOs. And you have seen so many multiple social media personalities going and investigating these NGOs and exposing them like no other. And you're just like waiting for the arrest. And you're like, God, what more do you need? What more evidence do you need? Alejandro Mayorkas hasn't been investigated and arrested. George Soros hasn't been investigated and arrested. Alex Soros hasn't been investigated and arrested. Every congressman that it was advocating for the globalist compact of immigration, that is the number one root of the problem, that we started talking about it many years ago. Nobody's getting investigated for the aiding and abetting for this enormous crisis in the border, and it caused a trickle and a domino effect to all the borders from Central and South America, creating an industry of trafficking that it was never to be seen by the organized crime and the cartel from El Clan del Golfo, from Colombia, operating in Trinidad y Tobago, selling families and selling women and selling children. The organization of child slavery in Colombia that is fully operating still. From the market starts, Clan del Golfo operating freely all the way from the south border and creating this armed weapon that it was El Tren de Aragua, that it was operating also in the jungle, all the way from Central America, infested and infiltrated in the United States with Cartel Jalisco Nueva Generación, Cartel de Sinaloa, all these cartels creating a market. It's impressive how this was growing. And now it is a talking point again. I'm not doing another live feed about this. I'm not, because it just becomes something that is there. Accountability needs to happen. Rashida Tlaib, you were advocating for open borders. Ilhan Omar, you were advocating for open borders. Veronica Escobar, you were advocating for open borders. Gavin Newsom, you were advocating for open borders. Chuck Schumer, you were giving millions out of the federal grants to NGOs, and you were advocating for open borders. Joe Biden, you were advocating for open borders. Alejandro Mayorkas, you were advocating for open borders. Alex Soros, George Soros, Antonio Guterres, you were advocating for open borders. All of you are complicit of these crimes against humanity. I don't see no accountability. I just see people going on live streams talking about it again and again and again. Let's make an X space. Let's make a. I'm so sick and tired of this crap. Again, it's a talking point. I saw several videos yesterday of people speaking on speaking engagements. I think that is incredible. That is extraordinary. Let's do more of those. They need to go to schools. They need to go to junior high schools. They need to go to universities and talk about this. That is what is need to be done. Echoing on social media. That's why I don't do interviews about this topic anymore, because it's always a profit, always sucking the teeth out of the vulnerabilities of our people, what we're going through. I live over here in Mexico. I was raised and I'm born and raised over here. I live over here. There's no escaping to go to somewhere else and be safe. No, we got to come back to our homes. Mexico, under the administration of Claudia Sheinbaum right now, 19 journalists have been murdered. This is not something to be playing around with. When you bring out all this information, you got extremely more freedom in the United States to talk about this. You can just sit down and be hours and hours on the border. You can just sit down and do an X space and talk about all these things at the border. You can be sitting down and talking about this in a live stream. You have more freedom to do so. Over here, we don't. And this is a serious topic. And when we see this, bring it into social media and just seeing people just talking about it like it's random. and competing on who has more. I'm just disgusted. It's just, I'm sick and tired of it. Now, the thing that I think that is exhausting, it is that this administration hasn't gotten to accountability. I'm sorry. I'm sorry for the MAGA. I'm sorry for the Trumpers. I'm sorry for all of you. There's no accountability. And we have had this discussion with people that they are fully supportive of Trump. They're fully supportive of MAGA. They're fully supportive of the Republican Party. I have had this discussion. And we have had these conversations. These conversations need to happen. There's no, oh my God, you're against America. No, stop with your feelings. This is accountability that needs to happen. Again, it's a trending topic, the missing children. Again, it's a trending topic, a guy in Los Angeles. Again, it's a trending topic in Texas, a guy. Again, it's a trending, like, God, stop. There's no trending topic. It is a thing that it needs to be fixed. Arreglen esta chingadera ya. And it starts from here in Mexico. We do our, I do, personally, as a journalist, I try to do the best that I can. And journalists in the United States are doing the best that we can, but just don't suck on the teeth out of the suffering of these children. It's just so exhausting to see this topic again to be trending, but nothing is getting fixed. Nobody's getting arrested. And nobody sees the big picture of this. And I have been saying this since the Trump administration came into office the first time. We have been exposing this. Then the disaster of Joe Biden came in. And then again, the Trump administration right now. And then again, if the midterms are lost, hold on a minute, because it is going to be worse. I'm not saying it. Now, everybody have seen that I have interviewed the leader of the caravans in the south of the border of Mexico. Everybody has seen. Now, before I start, share this video so we can get the information out. I'm not going to do this interviews again about children and all this stuff if we don't have a purpose with it. If we have I got multiple people like, hey, man, when I talk about this guy that it was in Los Angeles, that it, like, oh, my God, again, what are we doing with this? What are we doing? What are we going to do with this information? Is something deeply important it is going to happen about this information? Are we going to run with it, or what are we going to do? Are you going to push it to Congress? Are you going to push it to your council? What are you going to do with it, man? Because it's just, who are we talking to? People in social media again and again and again. It's like, it's exhausting. There's no arrest. Arrests need to happen. There's so much evidence. Everybody has documented the fraud, the NGOs operating in the United States, NGOs operating in Mexico, operating in Central America, operating in South America. For God's sake, in Panama, you have a place that is called City of Knowledge, and it is a place that it belonged first to the United States of America when they built the canal. And now they delivered the canal to the Panamanian people. And there was this campus that it belonged to the military, and it was given by the Panama government, I don't know why, to all these international organizations, United Nations, OIM, the UNHCR, the Clinton Foundation. Everybody's there. The whole mecca of this disaster, it is there. That's the enemy. That's the snake. Nobody else. Those are the ones that they're creating this ideology of open borders and continue with this open borders. When you have open borders, there's a humongous market. It's not only the children. It is the abuse, the sex trade. It is all this disgusting situations and evil situations that you don't even imagine. Somebody saying we should take over Panama. You're not taking over anything, man. That's it. It's a sovereign country, with all respect. Now, let me just be honest with you guys. Just recently, I was in the south border of Mexico. There's this huge repatriation center that it was built by the government of Mexico. But who are the people that are getting deported and basically being directed to this repatriation center? Mexican citizens. Good. Who's the one that is taking care of it? Who else? The organizations that they have never left. OIM, UNHCR, the United Nations. Do you see these organizations in El Salvador? No. President Nayib Bukele kicked them out because they were only sucking the teeth and they were creating chaos, and they live out of chaos. Everybody knows this. This is the report that we did. Now, after this report that I'm about to show you, I did an interview with the leader of the caravans in the south border of Mexico. And I want you to listen to this testimony about what will happen if the Democrats win the midterms. Not only that, the most important thing that he says, it is how many children were lost on these caravans. He says, I organized these for people to exile from this bottleneck in Tapachula, but I didn't know the atrocities and the problems that these people had. I walked with this man in a caravan that it was more than 15,000 people. And he was telling me on these 15,000, remember that caravan, Oscar? I said, yes, that caravan, almost 40 to 50% was full with Tren de Aragua. This criminal organization that infested the United States of America. I want you to see this report, and after this, I will put the interview, and I will translate the interview so you guys can understand why I'm sick and tired of these talking points, why I'm sick and tired of these just meetings on X Spaces or meetings on Zoom. I'm sick and tired of it. You guys need to get together, go to speaking engagements like the ones that I just saw recently. There's a guy by the name Becerra, I think, so I don't even know what the guy has been doing. And apparently the guy has been critically involved, and there's massive evidence of lost children. And this has stuck only on social media. Need to go and do speaking engagements. Need to everybody to rally up and speak together. This is not about who has more views, who has more likes, who did it first, who did it years, who did it this, who did it that. It's about fixing a problem. When people start thinking about themselves and thinking about the problem, this problem is going to get immediately fixed. Look what happened. This is the report that we did in the south border of Tapachula. Happen if the elections of the midterms in November are lost by the Republicans to the Democrats. Behind me, you will see one of the largest repatriation centers that have been implemented by the Mexican government due to the deportations that are being done by the United States of America. 4 flights every week to the south border of Tapachula, the epicenter of caravans, the epicenter of mass migration to the north border of the United States of America. It was right here in the south border of Tapachula that under the Biden administration, numerous caravans were happening from here all the way to the north borders. And this right here behind me, it is only a center for Mexican citizens that are being returned back right now under the Trump administration. Another question that is the most important one: who it is maintaining this place, who it is giving the service to this place. Guess who? The United Nations, OIM, the UNHCR, and all these other NGOs who your American taxpayer funding were funding under the Biden administration, preparing themselves for the mass deportations and ultimately preparing themselves if the Republicans lose the midterms in November. This is critical. This is why it is critical. Micro caravans continue to go out from the south border of Tapachula. Micro caravans are turning into 30, 40, 100 people, 200, 300 people still in mobility from the south border. According to one of the leader of the caravans, more than 20,000 migrants are scattered right here, waiting for an opportunity to move out of the south border of Tapachula because they don't have no job opportunity, because there is no opportunity whatsoever to move to the central parts of the country of Mexico. But what would happen if the Republicans lose against the Democrats in November? They're already preparing themselves. NGOs are being present right here at the south border of Tapachula. The United Nations has never left. OIM has never left.
The UNHCR has never left. These organizations need to be audited if the midterms are lost in November. November, it is going to be critical in terms to immigration going to the north borders of the United States of America.
That is the number one reason why. They have never left. These NGOs have never left. People are, there's a lot of problems that there are right now in the United States of America, but this is a problem that is going to be incredibly big if this midterms are lost. Now, I want you to understand this interview that I'm about to put on. So this is what needs to be done. I need you to understand how it is the level of, concern of what will happen if the midterms are lost, and the exacerbated trafficking of children, the exacerbated missing children, the exacerbated smuggling of children. It is going to continue because these policies of open borders, that is what they bring. There's no compassion towards the people that they are migrating and paying the cartel and going through all these atrocities. There's no compassion for that. There is compassion to make a profit out of it and get a political narrative and do these rallies in the United States of no kings. But there's no compassion about the actual situation which they go through. Now, this interview, I did this interview in the south border of Tapachula. On my left side, it is Luis Garcia Villagran, defender of human rights, and also he is the director of the Center of Dignification for Migrants. He has led hundreds of thousands of people outside of Tapachula on their way into the north of the country of Mexico. I have walked with this man possibly 10 migrant caravans with thousands of migrants. Good migrants, really good migrants, bad migrants, infiltrated migrants, and all kinds of people. This is a 2-minute infraction interview out of 20 minutes that I did with him sitting down. This is a really important fraction that I'm putting right here because I need you to understand what is at stake and what is the level of atrocities that it can happen if the midterms are lost, and what is happening right now with this character that is being, put on a hot seat in Los Angeles or whatever his name is, Becerra, I think it is his name. And he is getting basically exposed by people that they have been recording and also legitimately testifying against what he has done. Now, I want you to understand this interview, and I want you to understand what he says. Look at the questions that I ask. I will pause, and then I will pause. Meanwhile, he's responding. So you guys can clearly see what it will happen if November goes to the left and goes blue. And also what happened and what he says about the Biden administration. Remember, he's the leader of the caravans, and what he says about the Biden administration will leave your jaw open. Look what he says and look at the questions.
Se avecinan las elecciones de medio turno entre republicanos y demócratas. Hay una gran afluencia de opiniones en los Estados Unidos que los demócratas tienen la gran posibilidad de ganar la Casa de Representantes en los Estados Unidos. Si eso pasa, la agenda de fronteras abiertas entre México y los Estados Unidos puede pronunciarse de nuevo. ¿Qué crees que vaya a pasar si eso sucede?
The midterms are coming. And there is a huge speculation that the midterms are going to be, the Republicans are going to lose the midterms. And if the Republicans lose the midterms in November, the agenda and the narrative of open borders will come. What would you think, and what will be your expectation if the Democrats win, and what will happen? Do you think the open borders will come again? Look at his response.
Bueno, lo que pasa que Estados Unidos hay un clima muy contrario a Donald Trump.
What is happening right now, it is that there is a climate really contrary to what is Donald Trump.
Muy contrario. Definitivamente las acciones en el tema migratorio han influido mucho en la población hispana. Que
You know, when you talk about the immigration topic, these narratives have vast influence in the Hispanic community.
no son menos en Estados Unidos.
That we look what he says, that the Hispanic community is not a minority in the United States.
Y esto nosotros pensamos que va a ser que al menos tanto los senadores como la Cámara Baja en Estados Unidos pues sea desfavorable para.
And what we think is that not only the Senate but the House of Representatives in the United States of America is not going to favor Donald Trump.
Para el Partido Republicano.
And for the Republican
y
Party.
Esto va a repercutir demasiado porque hay que ser sinceros.
And it's going to have a lot of repercussions. And let me just be honest. Let me be clear.
Pero yo trato de ser lo más directo posible.
I'm always have been a person that has said things directly.
Hay agendas diferentes.
There's different agendas.
¿Qué crees que vaya a pasar si eso anunciarse de nuevo? Casa de Representantes
en el tema migratorio, la Cámara Baja en Estados Unidos pues sea desfavorable para el Partido Republicano, y esto va a repercutir demasiado porque hay que ser sincero, yo trato de ser lo más directo posible. Hay agendas diferentes. La agenda de la presidenta Claudia Sheinbaum es totalmente diferente a la agenda del presidente Donald Trump.
There's different agendas. Let's be honest and let's be transparent. There's different agendas, and I'm being quite honest. The agenda of the political narrative of the president of Mexico, Claudia Sheinbaum, is completely different of the agenda of Donald Trump.
Ahora, ¿tú crees que va a haber una afluencia el doble de lo que pasó con Biden si eso pasa?
Do you think, look at the question, do you think that this will get 2 times worse than what happened under the Biden administration if the Democrats win the midterms? Do you think that this is going to get 2 times worse? Look what he says.
Sí es, definitivamente.
Yes, definitely.
Con Joe Biden, todos lo sabemos, las fronteras estuvieron abiertas.
You know, with Joe Biden, everybody knows the borders were opened. And look what he says next.
Muchos niños desaparecidos.
A lot of children, a lot of missing children. This is the leader of the caravans, and he's actually concerned about the missing children. He says a lot of missing children.
Muchos niños no se supieron que salieron de Venezuela, de Honduras, de lugares donde la.
You know, a lot of the missing children, they don't know where they are. And a lot of these missing children, they head out from Honduras, from Venezuela, from these parts that there is a poverty.
Gente se está desgarrando, donde la pobreza es extrema. Eso
where these places they have extreme poverty.
Los obligó a salir y se perdieron.
That obligated these children to leave at a really early age.
Hubo tráfico agravante de niños.
Sí.
Do you think that there was an aggravating trafficking of children under this, administration?
Sí, definitivamente.
Yes, definitely.
Te tocaron miles de niños no acompañados.
Did you saw millions, thousands of children that they were unaccompanied on these caravans?
Niños no acompañados.
Thousands of children that they were unaccompanied. I saw them.
Gente de Guatemala, es cultural que la gente.
The people from Guatemala, it's in their culture to migrate at a really early age.
De Guatemala salga a los 12, a los 14 años.
It is really cultural to leave your home because of the poverty level at a really early age, at a 12 to 14 years of age.
Menores no acompañados que nunca llegaron.
Unaccompanied minors that they never arrived to their destiny.
Es grave lo que.
It's really aggravating. Look what he says next. And I need you to put attention because I will put this clip in social media with subtitles for people to share it. Look what he says next. It is aggravating, but what is aggravating?
Hizo en la administración de Joe Biden es gravísimo lo que hizo.
What the administration of Joe Biden did was aggravating, was completely dangerous, was aggravating. This is the leader of the caravans, ladies and gentlemen. This is not a guy by the name Becerra. This is not a guy in Texas. This is the leader of the caravans. And he has been accused of being a smuggler. He has been accused of being this, being that. They have never proved it. I'm not defending him, but he has been multiple accusations has received. And this is the leader of the caravan saying the atrocities that happened under the Biden administration. And these statements are not even reliable for this administration currently right now to go and do multiple arrests. Go and do multiple arrests on these people that they took advantage and make millions out of this situation. This is the leader of the caravans. And he's saying under the Biden administration, the crimes that he did were horrible. But look what he says next. This doesn't end here. What he says next, it is a message to all of you. To all of you. He's putting on evidence what they did under the Biden administration. What he says next, it should be a concern to all of us from Mexico, Central America, South America, North America. He says, if you want that to happen again, it's under your responsibility. Look what he says, because he knows what it is coming, and it is going to be Biden 2.0. So this exposure that they're doing to these people, this does not need to be exposing what they did. There needs to be arrest, accountability for these lawyers that they were receiving hundreds of thousands of dollars under Chuck Schumer, under this administration of the United States, that it was profiting out of this illegal and illicit business, and that they knowingly knew what it was happening. Now you have the leader of the caravans telling you, you want this to happen again, it's going to be worse. Look what he says next.
Quieren que se repita, pues adelante. Eso se lo decimos al público. Yo no soy ni.
Do you want this to be repeated again? Go ahead. You know, I'm not even a Republican. I'm not even a Democrat.
Republicano ni demócrata, ni me interesa eso. No creo que funcionen derechas o izquierdas.
I don't think that extreme rights and extreme left will work under this geopolitical situation of immigration.
Extremas derechas o extremas izquierdas en el espectro geopolítico, sino lo que considero que son agendas diferentes y la agenda que trae el partido.
And look what he says. Look what he says next. This is I think this is the most important thing. Says, I'm not a Republican, I'm not a Democrat. I don't think that the extreme left and the extreme right will function in a geopolitical spectrum when it comes to this topic. But the most important thing, what he says right here, says, you want that to happen again? That's you. But the accusations that he says about the political party that did this disaster, they're incredible, because he's basically acknowledging all the crimes against humanity that the Biden administration did. All the crimes. Look what he says here.
Contrario a Donald Trump es una agenda donde los más pobres.
So the opposition political party that is against Donald Trump, it critically directs and affects directly these kind of people.
Los menesterosos.
The poor people, the people in need,
niños, las niñas,
the kids, the children, the female children and the male children,
las familias,
the families
que van a tener que emigrar,
that they are going to have to migrate,
van a ser los más desventajados.
And
se avecinan las elecciones de
they are going to be the most people that they're going to be in disadvantage. This is why I stopped doing interviews about this topic, because we know the ones that we have been doing this for, my God, we know profoundly where it is the problem. We know profoundly where it is the root of the problem. And this problem, it was provoked by a certain agenda that is more reliable to this agenda to continue under the Democratic Party. But I do not understand why the Republican Party has not held accountable these people. That is my concern right now. You cannot be complaining about the hundreds of thousands of children that they're lost without knowing who provoked this problem. You're complaining about the thousands of children that they were lost. We understand that. You have explained it for so many years. We understand. Good job. Great. Phenomenal. Extraordinary. Now, do you know who's accountable for it? Yes, we know. Why these people have not been investigated? Why these people have not been arrested? Why these people are not being detained? Is somebody complicit? Is somebody involved? Is somebody
entre republicanos y demócratas?
We do not know. Are people involved together? Are they high-fiving behind closed doors? Is it the same agenda? Is it just a smokescreen? Is this information being deviated and being a smokescreen to protect another situation that is actually happening? Now, I said, there's a negative and there's a positive on this administration that is currently in government of the United States of America. And I have said the negative. Now, let me say the positive. You see this shoe right here on the back? That's a migrant child that died inside of the Darien Gap. This shoe right here. It's on my desk. There's no children dying right now in the Darien Gap. There's no migration exacerbated in the Darien Gap, people dying, women being trafficked, women being abused, women being raped, women being all kinds of horrible crimes that they have done to them. There's none right now. Is the market continuing? Yes. Is it exacerbated like it was before? No. Is it a massive arrival of migrants through non-ports of entry and through the border wall? No. Is it still continuing? Yes. Is there still trafficking of children and abuse to children in the borders as it was in the Biden administration? No. Has it decreased? Yes. It's still existing? Yes. Why there's no accountability? Why there's no people that they're being arrested? Why people are not being detained? Why people are not being investigated? That's the other side of the coin. So there's no massive trafficking. There's no massive children. There's massive quantities of children that are being lost, massive quantities of men being, that they have died, women that they are being abused and raped. We have seen it firsthand in the Darien Gap, caravans, children that they have died of dehydration in caravans, seen it. All right. Nothing of that. It is existing massively right now. Why we're not focusing on investigating these NGOs, auditing these NGOs. And I said this when the Trump administration came into office. I said, there needs to be a task force of investigative journalists that they know with experience, with responsibility, with ethical journalistic practice, transparency, and also with humanity that needs to investigate and it needs to hold accountable these NGOs. Without that, you will have this topic that is on the table and it is going to be continued talking point like it is right now. It's a talking point again. The children, okay, yeah, this NGO, yes, we have evidence. Yes, we have been talking about it for years. Chinga, ya sabemos, hombre. Ya sabemos, hombre. ¿Qué vas a hacer? Next step, it is to hold accountable these people. The way that they have gone after the organized crime and the cartel, the way that they have gone after El Mayo, gone after all the fractions of El Chapo Guzman, exposing more than 50 plus politicians in Mexico. That way, I want these scumbags to be exposed. I want every single picture of these progressive mercenary activists on a list because they took advantage of this situation. I want all these Antifa punks that they were part of it, of this radical progressive protest, and they were infiltrated in shelters in Mexico, exposed on every single newspaper. Every single face of these fake lawyers that they took money, hundreds of thousands of dollars of money out of the American taxpayer and also out of these congressmen that they corruptibly participated in giving them money, every single one being their faces exposed. Why not now? When you have the actual accountability paperwork and legitimate information to do so. Forget about the X spaces, forget about the talking points, forget about the live feeds, and forget about your clicks and damn likes. I do not care about that. I care about the exposure of these individuals who are critically free right now. And they're just sitting down in the comfort of their home saying, I did that. Nobody's going to come to me because they don't have enough evidence. This is a huge problem. Huge problem. It has never happened in the history of every border. This problem that happened to the United States, it is a huge problem. And there needs to be a task force that basically they're in charge of this investigation. Stop with the talking points. Stop with the live feeds. Stop with this. Go after exposing them. Do all these, what do you call these engagement, public engagements. Do all these presentations. That is good. Start speaking publicly about it. Organize yourself. Do this publicly. People are saying, Oscar, what are you doing? We run a danger over here, people. We cannot speak freely and publicly like you guys do in the United States. It's not the same. I'm not going to be at a shelter speaking about the organized crime and the cartel. When I get out of that shelter, I'm going to be like, hey, how you doing? Step into this car. We're about to take a little ride with you, man. It's different. You have a total advantage in the United States of America to do so. Start doing it. That's what it needs to be done. Everybody knows what the problem is, what happened with these NGOs, who was in charge on these NGOs, and who was given the money. Everybody knows about the fraud. Who was exposing the fraud? We knew this from years ago. My God, it is a topic now, but everybody knew about the fraud. Everybody has been studying this fraud. Everybody knew about the money. Everybody knew that they were receiving millions of dollars. Everybody knew that. It's time to go. All these journalists and citizen journalists to come together in the United States of America and be one voice, not to compete. Who did it first? Who did it second? Who did it last? Is to create a task force of opinions to come together and say, guys, I think this is enough. I think this is enough. I think that we need to create a task force of citizen journalists. You will focus on the East. You will focus on the West. I will focus on this. And everybody expose this matter without medals, without trophies, without honorees. Expose this matter for the principles of ending this problem, not with the principles of receiving a prize. That's the problem right here. There's so much evidence. You know, my God, there has been people that I have, since I started, people that I work with, man, my God, their evidence in the United States is so profound. It's so deep. sedated children coming into the borders. Who has reported on that since only one person that I know? He's the only one that reported on this, and he was the only one that went at it with no fear. That's how we need to face these topics. There's no pushback on the pedal. We need to come together, man. Talking points, talking every single time. It gets nowhere. X spaces, and it's good to go over there and talk about it so people can get more informed and you can get more opinions. But that doesn't end there. There's another step. We need to push these young women and young men that they want to go and be senators, go and be councilmen, go and be congressmen, and support them. If they are in the values of respect, the values that we know, we need to support them, because that is going to be our voice. Step out of, my dad says this saying, muchos jefes y muy pocos indios. Too many chiefs and there's barely little Indians. It's a saying over here. It's meant too many people want to be the boss. Too many people want to be in front of the camera. Too many people want to be in the front line. But nobody wants, and we don't have enough people that they're just standing by and say, like, how can I cooperate? Enough of the principality of being the narrative. Enough of the principality of being you. It's time to all of you guys come together and expose this problem once and for all, because it is not going anywhere, brother. It's not going anywhere. People need to take the rails of this problem, create an enormous task force. This task force, take it to the White House. This task force, take it to Tom Homan. This task force, take it to the people that they're in charge in the White House, said, like, enough is enough. Where is the accountability to this? Look at this evidence. You have all these people that they have great videos, great evidence, great information, great this, great that. Here it is. Take it. Arrest. Now. Where is it? You have these hearings in Congress, and you got these people that they get challenged in Congress. And these people that they get challenged by Democrats immediately, because everything that it gets exposed of abuse of children and trafficking of children, the Democrats use the narrative of the vulnerabilities of our people to destroy the narrative of the Republicans, and that is the narrative that they always used. The hell with that. Like, this problem, every single of those people that they are advocating for this narrative needs to be exposed. As I just said, all these people, progressive mercenary liberals, and you know who, and you know which organizations you belong to, scumbags, that you participated knowingly and using the vulnerabilities and the suffering of our people for your political narrative to get political votes and to just basically advocate for open borders because you were receiving hundreds of thousands of dollars out of this. You scumbags know who you are. These people need to be exposed immediately. That's about it, man. When the Democrats came into office, immediately, these January 6ers, they were immediately arrested. And they were giving them sentences like it was a candy shop, man. 10 years, 12 years, 20 years, 30 years. These traitors inside of your country, the United States of America, they're free. They're out there just waiting for the Democratic Party to come again, because they know that if the elections are coming, guess who was the only one that it was meeting up with this guy, that it was running for vice president? What was his name? Tim Walz. It was Kamala Harris and Tim Walz. Guess who was the only one that it was sitting down with Tim Walz talking about globalist, narratives? Alex Soros. Alex Soros did not sit down with J.D. Vance. Alex Soros did not approach, Donald Trump. Alex Soros did not approach Marco Rubio. Alex Soros did not approach nobody on the Republican side. Alex Soros was sitting down in an office with Tim Walz. They know what they're doing. They know what they are going to do. Immediately, when Joe Biden won the election, this is why me and a former colleague, we were talking about this, and I said, if somebody from the United Nations posts something about going back to the compact, globalist compact of immigration, you guys are done. And immediately, Antonio Gutierrez, that is one of the most important people in charge of the United Nations, posted, "We are so happy that Joe Biden won the election. Now we can go back to the humanitarian ideology of bringing about the globalist compact of immigration to the West. Destroy the borders of the West." This is not extreme, extremist. You're not a white supremacist, a sellout of indepatria. Stop with your pandering and your language to create, to cut the freedom of speech. It's not going to work. This evidence that we've shown every time, it doesn't need to stay there, man. There needs to be a task force, an enormous task force that unites journalists inside of the United States of America who they are under the same purpose and under same principles to guide this project to expose these criminals by within. This is the reality. It's time for the unity of the independent media to come together and expose this once and for all, with not having without having the ¿cómo se dice en inglés? Without being, the front man of everything. God bless you all. Thank you so much for joining in. 52 minutes going into this broadcast. Hopefully you guys enjoyed it. And this is one of the reasons why I stopped doing these interviews. I stopped because it was it's just going nowhere. It's going nowhere, and people are more informed, yes, but there's always this like, oh no, the other guy said this, and although the other guy said that, and like, oh my God, the information is like a broken phone. It gets different everywhere. This is happening over here, it's happening over there. This guy knows a former Border Patrol agent, and he knows more, and this guy knows what. Was he there? No, he was not, but he knows. Back in 1960, I'm like, oh my God, please stop. It is frustrating. It is not going anywhere. We need the principles of this foundation to combat this problem without competition and just the principles of eliminating this problem once and for all and exposing this problem once and for all without thinking about a price. Humbleness, man. Without a profit. This is about the enormous suffering of our people and children from Mexico all the way to Central and South America. God bless you all. Take care. Stay safe. Like we always say, God's plan, it is